Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Rewind That. It's your girl Miss K. Today we're going to be going over the latest episode of Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode number 3 called Holy Ghost. Let's get into this episode, guys. So, the episode starts off with Letty. She's in church and she seems pretty sad and just kind of spaced out, right? Anyway, in the next scene, we see that Letty takes her sister Ruby to an old house on the north side of Chicago. She tells Ruby that she bought the house, and of course, Ruby wants to know where she got the money from, right? But Letty never answers her. Anyway, Ruby tells Letty that she doesn't know about moving into the house with her, but Letty tells her that she thinks that living in the house together will help strengthen their bond as sisters. So with that being said, Ruby tells Letty that she'll take the biggest room in the house. Then Letty takes Ruby over to what she calls the best part of the house, which is an elevator. But when she opens the door, she sees that the elevator is missing. So she pokes her head into the empty space, and out of nowhere, the elevator descends at an alarming pace, almost taking Letty's head off, okay? And that was the first sign that something was off with that house. Next, Tick is at Uncle George's house, and he's been helping out for the past 3 weeks since Uncle George passed. However, Hippolyta seems to be a little irritated with Tick, and he realizes that he's worn out his welcome. So he goes to Montroses' place and asks him if he can stay there for a few days. Montrose says yes, but when Tick brings up Uncle George, Montrose loses his cool. And Tick wasn't about to stay and endure his father's abuse like he did when he was a kid, especially now that Tick is grown and a lot stronger. Anyway, Tick was just suggesting that they tell Hippolyta the truth about what happened to George, but Montrose says that the story they told needs to be the story they stick to, because telling her that wizards exist and white folks have magic on their side too won't be any better. Montrose also tells Tick that even if they told Hippolyta, she can't do anything about it anyway. But Tick says if Uncle George were here, he'd tell us to find out all we can. And that's when Montrose gets upset and bangs on the table like a maniac. So because of this, Tick grabs his things and leaves. Next, Letty has a moving day and her tenants are getting settled in as well. Letty's taking a bunch of pictures and she seems very excited. So once she gets downstairs, she sees Tick, right? He shows up at the front door. He tells her that he went to Ruby's old place looking for her and found out that they moved to the north side. After Tick tells her that he came to say goodbye because he's going back to Florida, Letty tells him that she has a room that she didn't rent out yet and Tick should stay for a few days, especially for the housewarming party. But Tick tells her that he needs to get going because he should have been back home by now. We also find out that this is the first time Letty and Tick have seen each other in 3 weeks. The last time they saw each other was at Uncle George's funeral. Anyway, suddenly they hear a bunch of horns honking. So everyone goes outside and they see a group of white men either standing next to their cars or sitting on their cars, just staring at them. So before Tick even opened his mouth, I knew he decided right then and there that he was going to stick around for a little while. Anyway, the sad thing is that the cops rode by and didn't do anything. And one of them just had this evil grin on his face, right? Because he was obviously co-signing with what the white antagonists were doing. Next, Letty is sleeping and there's a severed hand pulling off her covers. Then, an old woman with a missing jaw and mouth is also watching her as she sleeps. And it was pretty creepy. So Letty gets up because her sheets were yanked off of her, right? And she realizes that it's really hot in the room, so she tries to open the window, but the horns are still blaring, so she closes the window back. Then she sees steam coming from the radiator and instantly knows that the racists on the block are behind this. They're messing with her boiler, obviously. So she goes downstairs to the basement to see about the boiler, but she hears whispering voices and something banging on the door trying to get out. Of course, this creeps her out and she goes to get Tick to come check it out. Only thing is, there's nothing down there. But Tick tells her that he believes her, especially after everything they've been through. But he doesn't say this in a way that says, yeah, this place is definitely haunted. Instead, he says it like he just understands that she might be easily spooked after the traumatic experience they had in Ardham. Anyway, Tick then tells Letty that her neighbors know what they're doing and that he wouldn't be surprised if they were vets because the use of excessive heat and noise were tactics they used in Korea. Tick then tells her that he'll nail the windows down in the basement and keep watch for a few nights. Next, they have a housewarming party and everyone's having a good time. So Tick comes in and he sees Letty dancing with another man. This seems to infuriate him, and it didn't help that Tree was in his ear telling Tick that he had something going on with Letty back in high school. He tells Tick that he'd like to have a go at Letty again if that was okay with him. Then Tree says to Tick, "But if she's yours, you need to let her know." So Letty goes to the bathroom and Tick comes in and closes the door. They immediately start kissing and tearing each other's clothes off, and they start having sex. I honestly would have liked more of a love-making scene between Tick and Letty. I kind of feel like, things have been building up between them. You see that attraction and everything, and to get what we got was just kind of like, I'm not really feeling that. It kind of seemed like Tick was just trying to get some frustration out, and it was quick, and it was just like wham bam, thank you ma'am, and he got up out of there, and I just didn't like it. But anyway, after they were done, Tick sees that Letty is bleeding, so she apologizes and tells him that she didn't know that she started her monthly, and Tick says no big deal. But we find out later, and I'm jumping the gun a little bit, we find out later that it wasn't Letty's period that caused the bleeding, but it was actually her first time having sex. So when Tick tries to apologize, she tells him that it's okay and that she just needed to feel something. And I was just like, okay, you needed to feel pain, because losing your virginity is not a pleasurable thing. Anyway, back to the bathroom scene. So they go their separate ways and they get back to the party. And before I move on to the next scene, I want to mention that Hippolyta and Dee are also at this party. Hippolyta is the one who brought all the food, okay? Now, Dee is also somewhere with a few other kids and they're playing a Ouija board. So they ask who's there with them, and the Ouija board spells out George. And of course, Dee gets upset because she thinks the kids are clowning around and just being a bunch of jerks. But I think it's safe to say that Uncle George's spirit was in this episode, and I do believe his spirit will be revealed throughout the rest of the season. That's just my thoughts and my opinion. Anyway, as the party is going on, Ruby goes to the window and realizes that there's a burning cross on the front lawn. So Letty turns into Letitia freaking Lewis and grabs a bat and goes outside to bust out the windows of the cars and their headlights. Now, these cars belong to the white guys in the neighborhood that are antagonizing them, okay? And she also removes the bricks that were strapped to the horns of the cars, because they strapped these bricks to the horn so that the horns can just blare nonstop, right? Like Tick said, it was a tactic that they used in Korea. Anyway, I just want to say that I was definitely loving this moment. It was just so gangsta, right? And the song was just everything too, everything that the devil stole. I don't really know all the words, but anyway, the scene was just everything. It really was everything. I really feel like this show is definitely going to get some awards, okay? So I'm just totally ready for that. Anyway, but unfortunately, Letty gets arrested for this and is eventually roughed up, right? One of the arresting officers, who was a captain, he's riding in the back with her, and he says to her, "So has anything strange happened in your new house?" But Letitia didn't respond. So the officer says, "How about this? Did someone tell you to buy the Winthrop house?" So when she still doesn't answer, they have the driver swerve the vehicle to the point that it's throwing Letitia around in the back. Then he tells her that if history is any indication, you won't last very long in that house. So now Letty knows that her house is haunted, okay? Especially after the officer tells her that they found the body of 8 black people buried in a room under the basement. Next, Letty tells her sister that her mother left her some money, and that's where she got the money to buy the house. So Ruby doesn't take this well at all, okay? She calls Letty out for being selfish and tells Letty that instead of lying to her, she could have split the money with her and their brother. So Ruby made some good points, and she really shed some light on Letty's character and the type of person that she is. Ruby points out that Letty had ulterior motives when she bought the house. She claimed that she bought the house to help people and to have a closer relationship with her sister, but all she's done so far is moved in her artist friends. Ruby tells her that it was all bull that Letty was feeding her, and that Letty was trying to bury her guilt while she does what she does best, which is to look out for herself first, if you guys understood. I know that was a lot, but next, Montrose goes visit Hippolyta because he wants to play catch with Dee, right? During this visit, Hippolyta tells Montrose that things haven't been sitting well with her concerning George's death. She tells Montrose that she just has a nagging feeling about Uncle George's death. But all Montrose has to say is, I'm not sure what you want me to say. What else do you think happened? Now, I do think that Hippolyta will eventually find out the truth, and she's going to find herself involved with these wizards some way, somehow. Next, Letty tells Tick that her house is haunted. So she walks him through all her research and tells him that she believes that a man named Hiram Epstein, a scientist who was fired from the University of Chicago for unethical practices, was using Black people to conduct experiments on. Now, Letty also tells Tick that she believes that the captain who arrested her supplied Epstein with test subjects. So these people that were used in the experiments, they were also linked to missing persons over on the south side of Chicago, okay? Anyway, Letty concludes that there are 8 Black souls in her house and she knows that they want to get out. But Tick tells her that if Uncle George were there, he'd reference a haunted house story that would prove that the ghosts won't stop until Letty joins them on the other side. So in other words, Tick is just saying, listen, girl, they gonna kill you behind, so you need to move. So this is around the time that Letty tells Tick that she lost her virginity to him the night of the party. She tells him that she needed to feel something, especially since they'd never talked about the crazy things that happened in Ardham. And Tick says, monsters, spells, and Uncle George's death. Then Letty says, and I died too. And honestly, since I've been back, I felt like a ghost. Letty goes on to tell him that she thought the world was one way and found out it wasn't. But she refuses to live in fear and has to face this new world head on and stake her claim in it. So in the next scene, we see that Letty got in touch with some kind of voodoo woman or spirit exorcist. I don't know what she is, right? But she kills a goat on the front porch and takes the blood and draws a cross on Letty and Tick's head for the protection against the spirits. Actually, she didn't draw a cross. She put an X on their heads. So while they're down in the basement trying to get rid of the spirits, a few white men break into the house with wooden bats. And when I saw this, I knew they were going to go down, okay? Especially with them spirits just haunting whatever they was doing. I knew they was going to go down. Anyway, one of the men even gets his head taken off by the elevator. So meanwhile, Letty, Tick, and the witch doctor lady, or whatever she is, they appear to be successful in getting the spirits out, but they celebrated too soon. And a spirit jumps into the lady and eventually jumps into Tick. So now Tick is possessed and he's yelling at Letty with these black eyes, right? He's saying, get out of my house, right? So Letty gets bold enough to call on the spirits, right? She calls them by name and tells them that they can still fight, help me cast him out. She's asking them to help her get rid of the spirit of Hiram Epstein. So the 8 spirits start appearing and they make a circle and they hold hands with Letty included. And they're all chanting together until the spirit finally comes out of Tick and Hiram's spirit is finally casted out. So now that the spirits are gone, Letty gets the house back up and running and there's a reporter following her around the house asking her questions. The reporter even gives her props for taking the house and giving it back to the Black community by providing her tenants with low rent. But Letty tells the reporter that that idea was inspired by her sister. So that was nice that Letty took her sister's scolding and actually learned something from it, and finally did something selfless, okay? Anyway, so the reporter then asked her a question off the record about 3 white men from Letty's neighborhood that went missing. But Letty tells the reporter that she hadn't heard anything about that. So we see Letty and the reporter get off the elevator. and the elevator goes downstairs, and we see the bodies of the missing white guys. And all I could say is, look, they broke into the house for some mischief and they got way more than they were looking for, okay? Now, hopefully they stay dead and don't become the new ghost of the house. Next, Tick sees Christina's Silver Bentley outside of a realtor's office. Now, this is the same realtor that sold Letty the house, okay? The realtor's a black guy. His name is JJ. All right, so Tick must have been staking this place out because as soon as Christina showed up, he walked across the street to the office. So Tick figures out that Christina was the one who was behind Letty getting the money. So it didn't come from Letty's mother after all. Anyway, Christina wants to know how he figured it out, and Tick tells her that he remembered the name Winthrop carved on her father's favorite painting. Anyway, so long story short, he tells Christina that he was basically paying her a visit to end her life so she could stay away from his family once and for all. But it's like, come on, Tick, you should have known better than to believe that you were going to be able to kill a woman who does spells, okay? Because, of course, once Tick points the gun in Christina's face, he can't even pull the trigger because the trigger is stuck, right? So while Tick's hand is stuck on the trigger, Christina is giving him a history lesson. In this lesson, we find out that there's a spell book with missing pages. Christina believes that if the stolen pages are found, the possibilities would be endless, okay? Because these are spells that no one's ever done before, I guess, right? So Christina also tells Tick that Horatio Winthrop hid these pages in a secret booby-trapped vault. So, of course, this is definitely going to be something that Tick will eventually have to go on a search for, right? These missing pages. Anyway, Christina tells him that he has to be smarter than that, and he can't go around killing white women. And that was actually the last thing that she said to him before she left. But before that, she also told him that if he wants to learn more about their family history, to give her a call. All right. And that's how the episode ended, guys. So we already know that Tick is about to embark on this new adventure because his birthright, which was a secret when the show first started, is still going to have an impact on how this story unfolds, okay? Now, I can't wait to see what happens. I saw the preview for next week. It looks really good, and they're going to clearly go on a mission, I guess, to find these lost pages. And my guess is that they're going to say, look, white people, they have power because they're the so-called superior race, right? And now they also have magic on their side. No, we can't have this. We need to arm ourselves as well with some magic so we can also do spells and things like that. So I think that's the main reason why they're going to actually go after these lost pages. All right, now that's pretty much all I have to say about that. And I would like you guys to let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. I do want to let you guys know that after today, I'm going to be going on a break for a few weeks, so there won't be any videos posted for a little while, but I promise you I'll be back in about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, guys? You guys have a blessed one, and I shall return and see you in the next video. Take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.